People have always died. People have always died before they were people, right? I suppose the easy definition is death is the end of your life. Is death the end, or is there an afterlife? When you die, that will be the end. You will not exist again forever.
우리는 물질 세계에 살고 있습니다. 그래서 우리 주변에 존재하는 대부분의 것들은 실체가 있죠. 물론 우리 인간도 다양한 모습으로 실체가 있습니다. 그러나 단 한 가지, 아직 그 실체를 확인하지 못한 것이 있습니다. 바로 죽음이죠. 인간을 비롯해 생명을 가진 모든 것은 언젠가는 죽음을 맞이하게 됩니다. 우리가 말할 수 있는 가장 명백한 진실이죠. 그런데 그 죽음의 실체를 왜 알지 못하는 것일까요? 실체를 알지 못해서, 아니, 알 수 없어서 더욱 두려웠던 죽음. 그 죽음을 대중 앞에서 공론화한 이가 있습니다. 미국 아이비리그 3대 명강의 중 하나인 죽음 강의를 이끄는 셸리 케이건 교수입니다. 셸리 케이건 교수는 죽음이라는 철학적인 질문에 현실적인 답변을 제시하며 세계인의 이목을 죽음에 집중시켰는데요. 왜 하필 모두가 말하는 것조차 금기시하는 죽음을 강의의 주제로 삼게 되었는지 궁금하네요.
Well, there's certainly no prohibition against teaching on the subject, even if people are uncomfortable. I will admit that when I started teaching it here at Yale, I was surprised about how many people wanted to take the class. I had thought that in keeping with the fact that most people don't like thinking about death, that there might be a handful, maybe there'd be 20 or 30 people who'd be interested in taking a class like this. The very first time I offered it, more than 300 Yale students showed up. Now, they didn't all end up taking the class, but still it was a sign that this was a subject that mattered to people. I mean, after all, everybody dies. Everybody that we love dies sooner or later. Everybody wonders about what's going to happen to them after they die. And what implications the fact that we're going to die has on how we should live. So these are topics that everybody thinks about.
죽음과 삶. 동떨어진 것처럼 느껴지는 두 단어지만 때려야 뗄 수 없는 관계입니다. 하지만 우린 삶 속에서 죽음을 생각지 않죠. 모두가 죽는데도 말입니다. 늘 그랬던 것은 아닙니다. 불과 몇십 년 전만 하더라도 동네에서 상갓집과 뒷산의 무덤을 보는 것은 어려운 일이 아니었습니다. 장례를 치르기 위해 상여계를 드는 모습도 쉽게 볼 수 있었죠. 그런데 요즘은 어떤가요? 대부분 집이 아닌 병원에서 죽음을 맞이하고 장례식장에서 상을 치르죠. 이제 우리 주변에서 죽음은 멀어지고 있습니다. 생각하지 않으려면 않을 수도 있습니다. 그런데 왜 죽음에 대해 생각해야 할까요?
Well, one reason is because if I'm right that those are the facts, we want to live our lives with our eyes open. And a question worth asking is, if I'm right about the facts about mortality, that death really is the end, that there is no afterlife, then we need to ask, what implications does that have for how I live my life? And you might live one way rather than another, depending on whether or not you believe that this is all we've got. So for example, suppose you believe, as many Christians do, that this life in this world isn't the only world there is, that there's a soul, there's an afterlife, and if you're lucky, you'll go to some heavenly realm. That's what many people would like. Then, of course, it makes sense to live this life with the question of what makes it most likely that I'll get into heaven. But if this life is the only life we have, which is what I believe, then the question is, how should I spend these years knowing that it's all I'm going to get? And that may make a difference to how you live your life. You realize, if you face what I take to be the facts about our mortality, you realize that life is a scarce resource, as economists sometimes put it. That my 70 years, my 80 years, my 90 years, it's all I'm going to have, then it becomes much, much more important not to waste it, not to spend it incorrectly. And so questions then about what is the best way to live your life, given that you only have this many years, these questions become much, much more pressing. You have to be careful, as I sometimes put it, you have to be careful not to waste your life. And so then we have to raise new philosophical questions about what kinds of life are most worth living.
죽음을 통해 자신의 삶을 되돌아봤던 대표적인 인물이 있죠. 크리스마스 캐롤의 주인공 스크루지입니다. 자린고비 스크루지는 크리스마스 전날 밤 과거, 현재, 미래의 새 유령을 만나게 됩니다. 미래의 유령은 스크루지 영감이 맞게 될 외로운 죽음을 보여줍니다. 스크루지는 그의 죽음을 슬퍼하는 이도 없는 처량한 자신의 묘지를 보죠. 자신의 끔찍한 미래를 본 스크루지는 미래의 유령에게 다시 한번 기회를 달라고 매달립니다. 다른 사람들에게 베풀고 살겠다고요. 꿈에서 깨어난 스크루지는 행복한 그리고 아름다운 자신의 죽음을 바라게 되죠. 그래서 지나가던 사람들에게 먼저 인사를 건네기도 하고 거액을 기부하기도 합니다. 죽음을 경험했을 뿐인데 스크루지의 삶은 이전과 180도 달라졌습니다.
The reasons it's important to face the facts about your mortality is because it can have an impact on how you are going to live. You may decide to do certain things, pursue certain things. If the kind of person has the bucket list that we were talking about, better make sure I'm crossing off things on my bucket list. You will live differently if you are taking seriously the fact that you're going to die. All right. And I think that that's probably part of what people are saying when they say things like, live every day as though it was your last day. Well, there's a way in which I already answered that at an earlier question about why think about this stuff, why admit that we're mortal and that death is the end, if it's so comforting to believe in an afterlife. And the fact of the matter is, I believe that, to draw on some of the remarks I made earlier, I believe that knowing the facts about your situation, knowing the nature of life and death, and asking how does that have implications for how I should live, that strikes me as an important thing to do with our life, that our life is the more valuable, because otherwise we run the risk that we will have spent it incorrectly. We'll have wasted it. We'll have squandered it. Now, I've got my views, and I'm sure you'll be talking to other people who have different sorts of views about what we know about life or what we know about death or what we should believe about death. But one of the things I tell my students is, since I believe the things I believe those things are true, I hope that they will believe them too at the end of the semester. Or if somebody reads my book, I hope they'll believe what I defend in the book.
세상을 바라보는 하나의 관점으로서 죽음. 셸리 케이건 교수의 주장대로 삶에서 중요한 것을 찾기 위해 죽음을 마주해야 한다면 죽음이 무엇인지 알아야 합니다. 과연 죽음이란 무엇일까요? 물질 세계에 살고 있는 우리가 그 실체를 파헤칠 수 있을까요?